Could I have someone move and second that we come back into council? Move, Councillor Tuckerman, thank you. Seconded, Councillor Flannery. I've got them written down for you. Suspension in and out. Okay, councillors, we're back in our meeting and we are on live stream. So, as I indicated before, we need to be aware that we are on live stream and comments will be picked up to our live audience. For our audience, we had trouble with the live stream and we've commenced our meeting. We're up to item 10.1. Councillor reports. So I'll go around the room with the councillor reports. Councillor Horton, yours is noted there. Would you like to comment on anything?
No, draw.
Thank you, Councillor Horton. Councillor Armstrong.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. HILLTOPS audit, ARIC committee meeting, 26th of the 9th, 1st and 10th Asset Management Working Committee meeting. Also the same day extraordinary meeting with HILLTOPS Council, the 9th. The 2018-19 audit plan and financial statements update. 30th to 10th, the local strategic planning statement workshop with New South Wales Chief Planner Gary White. 16th to the 11th, extraordinary meeting of council. 11th to the 11th, 6th, I beg your pardon, extraordinary meeting of council. 11th to the 11th, Remembrance Day service at Young. 12th to the 11th, the councillors LSPS workshop. 19th to the 11th, Regional Economic Development Committee meeting. 20th to the 11th, Australia Day Committee meeting. 20th to the 11th, Greymont and Galong Community Meet and Greet, which was an excellent function. 27th to the 11th, HILLTOPS Council Extraordinary Meeting, and of course tonight's ordinary meeting.
Thank you, Councillor Armstrong. You'll be able to provide that list to...
I'll share right now.
Thank you. Could you turn your microphone off, please, Councillor first? And Councillor Rolls.
I have written mine out.
Yep, that's there, documented. Yep, and you'd like to speak to, or...?
And I presume I do my duty as a councillor by attending all these meetings.
Thank you, Councillor Rolls. Councillor Stadmiller.
Meetings as minuted.
Thank you. Councillor Manchester.
Meetings as minuted. The extraordinary meeting, I think that was minuted actually. So, meeting with Greymont on the 20th, the 11th, and the 11th Remembrance Day at Harden.
Thank you, Councillor Manchester. Councillor Tuckerman.
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. Crown Lands workshop on the 30th of the 10th. I had pleasure in attending their CSIRO opening, which was a great day and great to see that come to fruition, which would be a great benefit to the region. And, of course, the meeting today. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tuckerman. Councillor Rolls. Councillor O'Connor. Come back
the 11th of the 11th, I gave the address at the Remembrance Day ceremony in Murrumburra, and the 12th of the 11th, Wombat Progress Association AGM, and then the extraordinary council meeting today and today's council meeting.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Walker.
Yeah, the Mango Community Consultative Committee and meetings as minuted.
Thank you, Councillor Walker. Councillor Flannery.
LEP or LSPS meeting on the 12th of November, and I think it was the 23rd of November, a meeting with Greymont.
Thank you, Councillor Flannery. Could I have a mover and a seconder that all those reports be accepted, please? Councillor O'Connor moved. Councillor Manchester second. All those in favour? Aye. Again? It's unanimous, thank you. Councillor Tuckerman.
Mr Mayor, I'm just very conscious that there's a late report that I'd like to put forward in regards to the BOOROWA Community Garden minutes that needs to be endorsed as a matter of urgency. I think there was an email from the General Manager during the week in regards to those minutes, and I ask if we could please table those and deal with it as a late notice. It's a part of the Section 355 meeting minutes reports. Are you aware of it?
I'm not aware that till now that...
It was sent to all councillors, but I just have a copy of it. So it's just endorsing the minutes of the community meeting, and it's in regards to a resignation where they have to change bank accounts, etc., and there's a number of recommendations.
Yeah, I'm happy for that to be done. I was aware that on the email I wasn't aware that anyone was bringing it to the attention.
Can I also put forward to be tabled the response from the previous General Manager in regards to the questions on notice that are in the business paper, so that the actual response was emailed to us. I don't know
That's
why
right.
it's not in the paper, but
Neither do I.
it needs to be tabled and minuted for the next meeting.
Thank you. I had the email response that everyone else had, and I had nothing tabled to me or given to me in documentation, and actually I had no part in the business paper this month, just for clarification on a number of matters.
Thank you.
Councillor Tuckman has moved those as a matter of urgency to be included in our reports later on. Could I have a seconder for that, please? Seconded, Councillor Horton. All those in favour? Again? No, the questions are, the responses aren't. Yeah, only the questions. And I've had no... Okay.
And Mr Mayor, I have an urgent late notice that I'd like to be considered at this meeting.
And Councillor Rolls?
I believe I can do it under the Code of Meeting Practice Policy 9.3.
Yep.
My motion, Mr Mayor, I'd like to move that a motion of no confidence be considered by Council. I consider this motion to be of great urgency and in the interest of the organisation, believe it cannot wait until the next meeting of Council. It is my motion.
All those in favour of Councillor Roll's motion, raise their hands, please. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You get the councillors there, got the names down there. Those against? And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm out. And Councillor Wall's not here, so that explains a whole world of stuff to me. Thank you for that, councillors. As just in case anyone's not aware, that changes absolutely nothing. It doesn't change my determination or my steel to guide the council through some complex and difficult times, and I'm disappointed to think that people think the way I conduct myself is rude or bullying, and I don't like that if that's been perceived of me, and I'll try and address those type of matters. But as I said, my resolve and my steel to make sure we drive this council into a positive area and build the morale of the organisation is still there, and all I can do is hope that I win in the next term from here to September, that I can attempt to win some confidence back from those councillors who I feel that they've lost a bit of confidence in me at the moment. So thank you for that. We move on to item number 11, Community Recognition Scheme. Anyone got anyone they'd like to put forward for the community recognition? Councillor Tuckman.
Yes, I'd just like to make note and congratulate Councillor Manchester on being awarded the what's the first part? The distinguished service for at the local government conference recently. I think his years of service to local government should be recognised, and I congratulate him on the award, and it would be nice to see the Hilltops Council actually recognise that.
Couldn't agree more. Any other community recognitions? Councillor Walker has one as well.
We've just received an email. It's at 4 o'clock this afternoon, and I've only just got to get it. Excellence in Road Safety Engineering, letter of officer from the Officer Local Government to the engineering staff for being highly commended with the International Professional Works Engineering Association.
Australasia, yes.
Excellence Award in the category of excellence in road safety. So I'd like to have them recognised. Thank you. We've only received the email at 4 o'clock this afternoon.
Thank you, Councillor Walker, and he can clarify that a bit more for you if you'd like. Okay, any more community recognitions? If not, could I have a mover that we move with those, please? Councillor Armstrong, thank you. Seconded, Councillor Horton, thank you. All those in favour? Thank you, unanimous, thank you. Item 12.12 is the General Manager's Report. 12.1 is a withdrawal of the order to issue improvement notice from the Minister of Local Government, Shelley Hancock.
Move the recommendation.
Move Councillor Armstrong. Seconded Councillor Walker. All those in favour? Again, it's unanimous again. Thank you. Item 19.385, Annual Report 2018-19.
Mr Mayor, I'll move the recommendation with the addition of the changes as distributed earlier this evening.
Thank you, Councillor. Seconded Councillor Manchester. All those in favour? Again, it's unanimous. Thank you.
Can I just ask a question?
Councillor
In regards
Tuckerman,
to the annual report. It says in regards to the Smartscape project that has been withdrawn. I was just wondering when that came to council.
Director, got an answer for that? If not, I'll take it on notice and get back to Councillor Tuckerman in regard to that. Thank you.
Take it on notice, Councillor.
Director Osland will take that on notice. Thank you. Item number 19.386, councillors, I will move to have this item deferred. This item was asked when I did try to have some input to the paper to be withdrawn from the paper on the simple basis of there's been no official invitation received from anyone. When I inquired about this with former General Manager. I was told that the supposed invitation has come through social media in a foreign language. I believe that that wasn't sufficient for this to be going to Council at the time, and I wouldn't be supporting it. So until such time as an official invitation is delivered to Hilltops Council, and it can be addressed in the budget of the year that it's meant to happen in, which is the following year, I would suggest we maybe could look at it then. But for the moment, because of those two very basic reasons, I would move that we defer this matter completely. Seconded, Councillor Walker. All those in favour? Again, unanimous. Thank you, councillors.
Can I just make a point, Mr Mayor, in regards to that matter? There is certain practices that are listed in the policy in regards to how a report should be written in regards to overseas travel. Just wondering whether the staff could refer to that and make sure those matters are covered in the next report that comes in regards to that. Thank you.
And no, I understand exactly what you're saying, but the person who did this report is no longer with the organisation. Thank you. 19387, school presentation night donations.
Move the recommendation, Mr Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Manchester. Seconded, Councillor Stadmiller. Question, Councillor Armstrong.
My understanding that council is already making donations to some schools for their presentation nights. Can we be advised as to which schools are currently receiving donations and the amount of those donations, please?
I'll just take that on notice if that's okay, and I'll look into it for you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor O'Connor.
Also, I think there's only 4 high schools in Hilltops, not 9.
Mr Mayor, if I may, I'd just
Councillor
like
Rolls.
people to make note too of that last paragraph where it says also considered an active strategy working directly with the schools in relation to awards for 2020 to support regional skill development and educational outcomes. I think this is a very good means by which we can show our support for educational excellence, not necessarily academic, but educational excellence, and support both our young people and also our educational facilities in the area. And it's to our benefit.
Well said, Councillor Rolls, and couldn't agree, and I'm sure every other councillor agrees as well.
No, I don't.
Oh, sorry.
Education is not traditionally a role of local government, but we got
Thank you for that.
State Department.
I've had a mover and a seconder for that recommendation. I did, didn't I? Yep. So I'll put that. All those in favour? Against? It's unanimous. Thank you. Item 19388, September 19 Quarterly Budget Review. The report's there, councillors, and there's a recommendation in front of you.
Move the recommendation, Mr Chair.
Move Councillor Manchester.
Question, Mr Mayor? Series of questions.
Can I get seconded by Councillor Armstrong?
Seconded.
Thank you. Question, Councillor Armstrong.
Just in regard to a number of issues. First of all, in terms of our carried forwards, I note that we've got $10,000 in their capital for VMware. My understanding is VMware is software and it's subject to licence agreements. You don't own it as such. I'm wondering why it's included as capital and not operational expenditure. You can't depreciate something that you don't own. So I'd like a response to that, please. In regard to the first page, first line, I note that Councils has collected, congratulations, collected $16,025,087 of the current budget, $16,003,544, yet the forecast budget is still $16,003,544. Seems that there's a $22,000 additional collection that isn't included in the budget figure. That being the case, then I have to ask the question, is the forecast budget back on page 175 of $23,159,376 inclusive of the additional $22,000 that is in the actual year to date on page 178? And in regard to the page 192 for the waste management group, I note there that the income to date is $41,236. The budget for the year is $2,144,000, and the forecast budget remains $2,144,000. I'm just surprised that we've only generated $41,000 worth of revenue instead of about $500,000 worth of revenue in the first quarter. Perhaps we can get some details on those issues, please.
Through you, Mr Mayor, the issue with the $10,000 for the VMware software, you are indeed correct. That should be operational and will be corrected. The issue with the billing of the joint regional waste was first brought to my attention today, and I've directed that the matter be inquired into further. I'm anxious that we preserve Council's revenue position in relation to the other councils, so prior to invoicing the other councils that are members of the group, I'm having a full inquiry carried out, and I'll present a report to the next meeting of the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee in the first week of December in relation to the position. It's my understanding, pardon me, on the current position that revenue was billed to 30 June 2019. However, it's also my understanding that not all of that revenue at this stage has been collected. However, I need to verify that position. We'll clarify that. We'll clarify the revenue position of Council, and as I said, I'll have a full report for the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee in the first week of December. We'll be able to examine Council's position further and provide the necessary answers. Your other question I'll have to defer to the accounting officer. In relation to the budget forecast and the rate revenue, at this stage the rate revenue actual year to date is above the budget by some $21,500. We've taken a conservative position in relation to that, haven't actually adjusted the budget forecast until we actually get the pension rebates and rating adjustment process to the end of December, and at that time we'll be in a better position to have a clear understanding of the full impact for the rest of the year.
One final question. I take that on board that even though we've collected $22,000 more, it's been very conservative. We're saying we're going to not collect that $22,000. In regard to depreciation, I note that we're a third of the way through, 25% of the way through the year, and haven't incurred any cost in depreciation. How can that be?
Again, through you, Mr. Chairman, at this date we haven't raised depreciation charges for the year. That we are processing those this week. We haven't been in a position to be able to calculate depreciation based on a quarterly charge. We will bring to account the depreciation to the 30th of June 2019, and then once we've brought that to account, we will be in a position during 2019-20 from the budget review in December to bring to account a forecast expenditure, forecast depreciation charge for the year.
Thank you for that. Any other questions or comments? Councillor Tuckerman.
Yes, one question, Mr Mayor, please. In regards to 174 page, in the first page of the report, it talks about experiencing delays with reconciling bank accounts. I am aware that some councils are informed about some issues with meeting timelines. It talks about additional contract staff. I'm just wondering where those resources are being paid from. Like, where are they coming from? Are they coming from transition funds or...?
Through you, Mr Chair, the funding for those resources is coming from transition funds, and at the moment my understanding is that transition funds are also being applied to software licensing costs on an ongoing basis, which ought properly be applied to operating expenditure rather than transition funds. I'll be recommending an adjustment in the next quarterly budget review on that basis, so that the expenditure on the accounting resources that I've deployed to help improve our governance and tidy up the issues with delayed financial reporting and inadequate financial reporting, if I may say, are coming from those transition funds.
Thank you. Councillor Stadmiller.
Just a question for the Acting General Manager, if he can answer it. Just had a discussion with the Secretary of the Harden Hornets Cricket Club about a lack of water for the Oval. I just note in the budget here that there's no allocation in the original budget or the current budget. I think $265 appears. It is cricket season, and I am obviously more sort of aware that people need to be drinking clean water than having green fields, but I understand that Golden Fields has plenty of room in their allocation, so is it a budgetary issue that Tim Doolan Oval in Harden may not be getting the water, or we can't afford it at the moment, or that hasn't been budgeted correctly? Can that be looked at, please?
Through you, Mr Mayor. I received a correspondence from the Harden Hornets the day before yesterday. I'm currently looking into that. There's certainly water allocation there, so whether it's budgetary allocation or what the issue is, I have to find out.
Just further to that, Mr Mayor, the Tim Doolan Oval is watered by grey water, or it should be, and I would have thought that would have been adequate at the moment.
As said, I'll take it on notice because I'm trying to find out what's really happening there.
Any other questions in regard to that matter? If not, I'd just like to say thank you to the Director who's landed in that seat, taking care of some of these matters that obviously put some weight behind some of the concerns that were related to where our financial reporting had been up to. So thank you for that. Item mover and a seconder. All those in favour? Again? It's unanimous. Thank you, councillors. Takes us to item 19389, the cash and investment report. A recommendation and the reports in front of you, councillors.
Move that, Mr.
Move Councillor Manchester, thank you. Seconded Councillor Flannery, thank you. Questions or not, I'll put that. All those in favour? Again? Unanimous. And thank you. Item 19390, outstanding rates and charges collection report. There's a report there, councillor, and its recommendation is receive and note. Moved by...
I'll move the recommendation with some discussion.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Manchester, thank you. Councillor Armstrong.
There's a statement made in this report that the Council is due to commence the process of sale of land for unpaid rates, and this is expected to improve the collection of the outstanding balance when it occurs. Can I please be advised how that's going to, how the sale of land for unpaid rates is going to improve the collection of the outstanding balances, please?
Through you, Mr Chair, this is not a report that I authored, however that's not an assertion that I would concur with, respectfully. I like being a new recruit to council, I would have to say that this is a matter that, with all the other financial reporting matters, I'm progressively getting myself familiarised with, and I look forward to bringing a better standard of reporting and information management to Council in due course. I don't believe that the sale of properties for the collection of overdue rates is anything other than a last resort remedy. To the extent that that is something that's contemplated, I will inform myself and take that on notice and provide a more accurate answer in due course, but I don't perceive that as a realistic remedy to improving our statistics.
Thank you for that.
I requested a report come to Council in regard of, before we commence the sale of land for unpaid rates, to give us some idea of the quantum. I don't expect details of the properties nor the owners, but certainly the quantum and the number of properties that are likely to be subject to the sale of land for unpaid rates. This is perhaps the most unpleasant aspect of local government. In all of my years, it is something that brings no pleasure to any staff member nor councillor. And I don't believe that it is appropriate to say that the sale of land for unpaid rates is going to improve the outstanding balance substantially.
Thank you, Councillor Armstrong.
A question.
Question,
Mr.
Councillor
Mayor,
Rolls.
perhaps to the Director. I'm just wondering how long are rates unpaid for before that step is taken?
3 years,
3 years.
Mr. Mayor.
Fine. But I presume is it at the discretion of council as well that step is taken, or is it mandatory?
There's no arbitrary time period at which rates are charged over land, so that there is no set time period at which there's no trigger in the legislation at which time council's obliged to do it. A period of 5 years might be a trigger point. However, the nexus between that, it's really a last resort measure, and so we would exhaust all other realistic avenues of recovery before we went through the compulsory sale of land as a charge. But as I said to in response to the earlier question, that's an issue that I will have to, in becoming more familiar with the role that I've just taken up, I will familiarise myself with the status of our overdue revenue collection and bring a report to council, and no decision will be taken in relation, and no decision can be taken in relation to the for sale of land without a resolution of council.
Thank you, Director. That's comforting, I think, especially in this time of duress for many people. So thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, just
Through
reflecting on those comments, I'm certain that we also have a hardship policy, and obviously in these times of drought we need to consider making sure that those conditions are available to all ratepayers if they are struggling to pay their rates.
I think, again, everyone would concur with that.
Through the
Councillor
Mayor,
Horton.
I'd like to direct this to the Director of Strategy and Organisational Performance, Director John Hughes. Draw your attention to the rate that we're talking about. Certainly don't hold you accountable for it because you've only been here 10 minutes. But this to me is typical of what's been happening for the last 12 months. No urgency. It says here recommendation that council receive a note to report as if nothing's happened. Council receive it. Yet you look over here, the arrears balance is of concern. Bloody oath it is. It was over $2.7 million at the commencement of this year. This has been reduced to just over $2.2 million. Like you think you're talking about peanuts. As at the 31st of October. They wouldn't want to put the 31st of November because most people pay rates quarterly and they are due now, 30th of November. And you can bet it'll be up over 2.7 million. And then we say council is due to commence the process of a sale of land. And the question that Councillor Armstrong asked were the questions that I had here to ask, and so rightly. And this is expected to improve the collection of the outstanding balance when it occurs. Outside of this, council will need to continue or increase its debt recovery action. What actions? Do we knock on doors? Do we send letters? Do we phone them? Do we send emails? Do we get debt collectors? It shouldn't have got to this stage where we having to sell people property in 3 years. There's just nothing happens. Nobody's accountable. It's not just in this, it's everything. So, Director, I direct that to you for your attention. I'm sure you're aware of it, and I certainly am not putting any dispersion on you with this regard, but I just wanted to draw Council's attention to that.
Thank you, Councillor Horton. The only thing I'd say in regard to the report was the percentage collected down there under water usage. I don't know if this got something to do with the methods of how it's paid between the different areas or not, but there's some fair variance between the amount that's been collected. That's all I'd say there. I don't know. There could be different methods of doing that. I'm not sure. Okay, we had a mover and a second for that. No other queries. I'll put that. All those in favour? Again, unanimous. Thank you. Item 19391, development application stats for October 19. It's there in front of you, councillors. Moved Councillor Walker. Seconded Councillor Horton. Thank you. Councillor Stadmiller.
Just a question for the General Manager. I'm aware that 40 days could be instant refusal for a DA. Are we getting close to that? Is that still the case for many of these?
Without talking about individual applications, there is the 40 days does trigger our requirements in regard to making a decision, or at least getting further confirmation from the state if there's an outstanding issue prior to that. So it does come into play in these, but we'd rather try to work with the applicants than actually just refuse them. So we can constantly have conversations, not constantly, but regularly have conversations with our applicants to see how we can progress them along.
Thank you. Councillor
Question, if I may.
Yep.
Is there anything that Council thinks they can do from an executive level to improve this, whether it's more staff in this department, or are you currently happy with the staffing quote?
Looking at the statistics, which go beyond what we've got in the paper here today, our numbers and our timing for turning over of DAs has actually improved in the last 2 to 3 months. We're spending a lot of time now trying to build the right processes in the front of the process so that even before an application is made, most issues are fully aware to the applicant, and therefore it's easier for them to progress an application. We'd rather they know where they stand before they spend their money on fees, and that's made a big difference. We're also meeting regularly, or twice a week as a team, to make sure we go through these issues with the engineers, etc., to make sure that we can get back to them very quickly with initial comments and also get stuck into the assessment as quickly as possible.
Thank you. Councillor Tuckerman, did you have a question? No. Covers it off. Okay. No further questions. I'll move in a seconder. I'll move that report. All those in favour? Again, it's unanimous for you, Leanne. We go over to 19392, post-exhibition.
Move the recommendation, Mr Mayor.
Moved Councillor Armstrong, thank you. Seconded Councillor Manchester. Questions or queries? I'll put that. All those in favour?
Aye.
Again, it's unanimous, Leanne. 19393, and a DA with a variation about erection of a new rural dwelling. That's a report there, councillors, and there's a recommendation.
It is a comprehensive report, and I move the recommendation.
It's been moved by Councillor John Walker, seconded by Councillor Rita O'Connor. Any discussions or questions in regard to this matter?
Mr Mayor, I'd like to speak against the recommendation, as
Councillor
much as it pains me to do so.
Councillor, before you do that, would the mover like to speak to it?
No, nothing further. There's been a lot of work done into this, and there is circumstances that why the application was made, which is outlined. And to me, in the area that it is, I endorse the recommendation, as the report is written.
Thank you. Speaker against, Councillor Armstrong.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. As I said, as much as it pains me to do so, I'm at a loss. We're in the middle of doing a new LEP. There is spirited debate and great discussion about the minimum lot sizes in this particular zone. There is disparities that exist within the 3 former local government areas. Here we have an allotment of less than 10% of the minimum, and certainly less than 50% of the minimum that was applicable in Harden. coming up for a residential for a erection of a dwelling. I realise that it is on the outskirts of MURRINGO. I realise that there is another dwelling in close proximity, but at the end of the day, this may be, in many people's eyes, setting a precedent that goes well against the 170 hectare minimum that is currently set by the LEP. Even if the LEP was to change back and a more modest 40 hectare minimum adopted for the rural area, it is still less than 50% of that 40 hectares. For that reason and that reason alone, I find myself, I just can't support the application.
Thank you, Councillor Armstrong. Anyone like to speak for the application? No? Would anyone else like to speak against the application?
Mr Mayor, I'll speak for the application. Back on.
Councillor Stadmiller.
Looking at some figures that came out of the Canberra Region Joint Organisation over the last couple of years, HILLTOPS population is slated to grow by only about 1,000 people, I think, over the next 20-year period. And though this doesn't meet a lot of the guidelines, we are still part of the way through the process. I'm a little bit confused as to why it's turned up in here. And okay, well, yeah, no, that makes sense. The Acting Director of Sustainable Growth. But I don't know what we're doing to actually attract people to the region, to boost our numbers for our schools and our nursing homes and our business community, because we really are struggling at the moment and we're in a drought. So I'd be supporting it on the grounds that someone's trying to have a go here and build something and stay in the area than be pushed out of the area.
Thank you, Councillor Stadmiller. Anyone else like to speak against it? I'll speak a bit reservedly the same way as the previous council spoke against it, on the grounds that 16.7 hectares in a 170 hectare zone. And I concur with Councillor Stadmiller's point about our need to try and attract and grow our region. We are currently going through a very intense process of reviewing our LEP and what that might look like, and given that there was 3 different areas had different ideas about that before it was one council, and now there's still some different ideas whether it should be back to 40 or back out to 100 or whatever it might be. But this particular one, given that the answers we've handed out to previous people who've had to abide by the conditions when it was 40 hectares, I personally have to vote against this, because otherwise I would be very hypocritical in decisions I've made in the past in regard to allowances being made when it's 16.7 hectares and 170 acres. If it was 16.7 out of 30, but, we've had a margin. We've always got margins 10%, but this is just way below anything that I've ever looked at before. And unfortunately, for that reason, I can't support the matter. So, okay, this.
Mr Mayor, just a comment. I think, for point of correction, we approved a couple at Wombat last year that were 3 hectares and significantly below the standard 40 hectare minimum, and it is within council's determination to decide these determinations.
And I concur, Councillor. I'm just speaking from my experience, and I know we voted for them and I voted for others, so yep, point taken. Thank you, not a problem at all with that. I had a mover and a seconder. Any more comments? Questions? I'll put that. All those in favour? Record. You're right. Yep. Those against? 3. That is carried. Thank you, councillors. Item 19394. Utilisation of underspend on BOOROWA Rec Park.
Move the recommendations.
With Councillor Armstrong. Seconded Councillor Tuckerman. Questions or comments? If not, I'll put it. All those in favour? Again, it's unanimous. Thank you, councillors. Item 19395. BOOROWA Urbanisation Grant Repurposing. Moved Councillor Horton. Seconded.
Seconded with a question, Mr Mayor.
Seconded Councillor Flannery with a question.
I didn't fully comprehend the report. Where is this actually up to?
This goes to the Director of Infrastructure's report.
Through you, Mr Mayor. At this stage, the process is on hold. We haven't proceeded with too much more work on the urbanisation at South Boorowa while we're considering the LSPS and all the other land use planning in that area. Once that's resolved, we'll be in a better position to progress with infrastructure designs and infrastructure investigations in that area.
Thank you, and without meaning to be rude, it would be good. I find some of these reports written in double Dutch. If you simply said because of the LSPS statement, or these reports just factually presented the case that we've got it on hold until further information is determined, I think it would be a lot more useful. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. So I had a mover and a seconder for the report, to receive and note the report. All those in favour? Again? It's unanimous, thank you. Item 19396, Strategic Waste Issues and Strategy Development. There's a report there and a recommendation, councillors.
Happy to move the recommendation, and I've got a question.
A seconder for that. Councillor Rolls, thank you. Question, Councillor Manchester.
Yes, Mr Mayor. I was quite involved in the getting the Bald Hill Quarry up as part of our waste strategy, or the Harden and this group waste strategy back in the late 90s, and it became operational in 2004. At that time, it had a lifespan of 50 plus years. The last report I saw from the group would be 5 years ago, and it had an existing life of about 20 to 25 years. So I'd like to know just what the proposed length of the hole is currently, and also in this report on page 286, the group cannot rely on having access to Bald Hill landfill after 15 to 20 years. My understanding was that we did a lot of negotiation with the current Bald Hill people, and there could have been another 50 plus years of landfill available there. So I'd like to know why this report actually states that, whether there's been a fall down between the owners and the operators.
Through the Chair. We are currently looking into actually where we are with Bald Hill. The information we're getting varies in regard to its lifespan, how much is left there based on current activities and the activity over the last 10 years out on the site. From other sources, there's been a lot of other people using that site, and more than we probably anticipated back when it was originally put up as through the concepts you've talked about. We also want to have a chat with the councillors involved in the Southwest Management Group, because that conversation hasn't happened for a while now, and we haven't been getting the reporting we'd like on how it's going on a regular basis. So I'll take a question on note if that's okay, and I'll get back to you with more information. But that is one of the concerns we have, and why the report is here, is to confirm exactly, is there enough in the capacity there for the next 10 to 20 years or longer? Do we have to look at other options? And also taking into account the broader issues when it comes to waste management and dealing with recyclables, etc., is there other things we should be looking at as well?
The original people that we had conversation with back in those days, this hole became available back, as I said, back in the 90s, late 90s, and there would be another hole that had, I can't remember how many years of quarrying left in it, that then would become available, and that was going to be the second site.
Question?
Question, Councillor Walker.
What type of emphasis is being pushed or promoted for recycling? There seems to be such a rapid increase in waste, and yet the strategy should be towards recycling.
Through the Chair, we do have some systems in place, and there's also some activities going on through our Canberra Regional Joint Organisations to go further with recycling. Our biggest concern is thinking that up with our strategy going forward as a more integrated strategy for dealing with waste, looking at the costs and actually how that relates to the size of communities we have here. You wouldn't want to use the same option here as you would for Canberra, for example. So there's got to be some discussion, which this report generally refers to in 2020, strategically how we go forward with dealing with that. So we'll talk more about that possibly in the near future, hopefully around February, March, with the councillors, and see how we go from there.
Thank you.
Just a question
Councillor Armstrong.
to the acting GM. What sort of risk are we exposed to, given the media statement issued by the Minister for Local Government, Shelley Hancock, on Tuesday the 26th of November regarding the potential demerger of Snowy Valleys and Cootamundra and Gundagai regional councils?
I'll have to get back to you on that one, take that on notice. But taking into account what's happened so far with the original setup being Harden, for example, rather than HIlltops, we think that can be managed through, but we'd have to watch that closely and see how it goes.
Thank you.
Through the Mayor.
Councillor Wharton.
Through the Mayor to Acting General Manager. For the last 2 years, some councillors and management have been visiting villages all around the hilltops. And one of their main concerns after water is waste. They've all got, and we've been told, yes, because this has got this system, that one's got that system. We've paid thousands of dollars in consultants. So my question is, when will we have a new waste strategy in place, and when will it be implemented?
Through the Chair, we're looking to come back to talk to the councillors in February, March. The draft strategy was done and completed in about March this year. However, some of the outcomes from that we wanted to go back and check in more detail. And also, coming from the conversations in the villages over the last 6 months, the approach we need to take on that probably is a little bit different to what was in the strategy. And also we need to line that up somehow with our contracts, which are still about halfway through their lifespan, which have a set level of service and types of service for those communities. The communities are telling us actually they'd like something a little bit different, so we need to think about how we approach that in our strategy as well.
Thank you.
Councillor Tuckerman.
Mr Mayor, do we have a waste officer?
At the moment, no.
Are we advertising for one, or?
We did advertise for one about 3 months ago for a project manager for 12 months, and we had no success with that process.
Something else that we can revisit, no doubt, now. Councillor Roll, sorry.
Oh, pardon me. Just on that note, did I read somewhere too that the joint organisation doesn't have a waste manager at the moment? Is that right?
I'll have to get back to you on that one, take that on notice and check. I know there's been some changes in there about activities they're focusing on at the moment, but I don't know what their current resourcing are in that section.
That they might have advertised but not being able to fill, so I presume that those positions are quite difficult to fill.
Yes, they can be. Yeah, it is a very difficult market to get in.
Understandably.
Yeah.
I have a part of a meeting in Canberra on the 4th of December, and the ACT and the Canberra Region Joint Organisation Regional Waste Roundtable discussion coming up. So there may be something come out of that I can report back to Council after that meeting next Wednesday with some ministers there, hopefully. Okay. So, we had a move in a second. We've had discussion about it. Yep. All those in favour? Again? It's unanimous? Yep. Okay. 19397 is Old WHEEO Road Causeway. WHEEO? WHEEO? I'm not too sure. WHEEO? Silent H? I don't know why they don't write that for me. They didn't write it was silent. Old WHEEO Road Causeway. So there's a report there, councillors, and there's a recommendation there.
Mr Mayor, can I move the motion, please? Sorry.
Councillor Armstrong to move a motion. Councillor Armstrong.
That this matter be brought back to council next month with a fuller report indicating the values of these assets, including the maintenance, the current book values and the current maintenance costs that relate to them. I don't believe that council can make a decision when we don't know what we're talking about.
Okay, so here we go, capturing that motion. Councillor Armstrong, would you like to assist with
that?
I can't see.
Council defer this matter until its December meeting, pending supply of a fuller report.
Hang on.
Inclusive of asset values and maintenance requirements
There's a motion on the floor. Do we have a seconder for that motion?
I'll second that motion.
Seconded Councillor Tuckerman. Thank you. Anyone got any questions in regard to that motion that's on the floor?
I'd just like to ask a question first.
Question, Councillor Tuckerman.
Through you, Mr Mayor. So the issue in regards to this was always around the private property and the Crown lands that actually go to the structure, and there was lots of discussion and lots of angst around it. I'm very surprised to see 30 to 50 vehicles a day. I'm not sure where you got that from. Was there a count put out there, or...?
Councillor, that was just an estimate, and certainly just with discussions with the locals, and I suspect it's more like less than 30 rather than closer to 50.
Yeah, look, I understand that it is an extremely important access point, especially during bushfire, and it is something that needs to be determined. However, there are Crown lands involved in it, and in light of a recent decision, that could be hard to negotiate. But I think we need some more information, and some probably, I don't know whether they need to dig a little bit further in regards to some of the issues around Crown lands and also the public, the private ownership of the block of land as well. So are we looking at purchasing that? Those sorts of issues need to be addressed.
Through you, Mr Mayor. The purpose of this report was purely and simply to get on the table to advise Council that in discussions with Upper Lachlan Council that they would take a lead on 2 of those bridges and we would take a lead on the old WHEEO road. It was not to commit Council to any funding at this stage. It was not to commit Council to anything else, just to advise Council as to who was going to take the lead on these projects. Until we had that agreement from Council, there wasn't much we could do in terms of doing a lot more work in terms of finding exactly those issues that Councillor Tuckerman's alluded to, and certainly looking at what was the best option for old WHEEO road on that causeway as to whether it might have just been putting some maintenance work onto the causeway or actually spending a lot of time in investigating bridges. But I take Council's reference point here, and we can certainly come back with some other detail there in terms of asset values.
Thank you.
Question for the Director on a slightly unrelated matter, but could a report be brought back to Council based on the status of William Bradford Bridge and what's been done since the bus accident on September 27? I think that's a pretty important issue.
We have a representative in our community meeting with RMS tomorrow in Wagga, Di Peasley, about some of those matters, and that's one of the matters that Di mentioned to me this morning that she would be discussing. Safety is paramount to everyone. So thank you for that. Okay, so we've had that motion and a seconder and some questions. I'll put that in motion. All those in favour? Again? That's unanimous. Thank you, councillors. Oh, sorry, Councillor Walker's against. I'm sorry. So let's go back to the start. Let's clarify the vote. I don't want any votes being checked for validity. We'll just make sure we get this correct. So phone calls to OLG. The motion is... Could you read it out? I haven't got it. I can't see a thing.
This matter be brought back to Council next month, pending supply of a fuller report inclusive of asset values and maintenance requirements.
That's the motion that's on the floor.
Thank you. Excuse me, Mr Mayor. Might I ask to a future meeting or even January meeting, given that it's only a couple of weeks till the December meeting, I'm not sure that we'd be able to get the asset values and maintenance requirements, that's all. If we could go to the January meeting, please.
The mover and the seconder are happy to move that to January?
That should say the future meeting.
Future meeting. I thought that's what was said, yeah. Okay. How are we looking? That's correct? Okay, that's the motion that's on the floor. Councillor Walker. All those in favour? Against? Councillor Walker's against. Thank you. Item 19398, Young Aquatic Centre update. There's a report and recommendation says receive and note, councillors. Move Councillor Horton. Seconded. Councillor Rolls. Questions or debate?
A question,
Councillor Manchester.
Mr Mayor. I did raise with a staff member when this asbestos issue arose with regards the possibility of disposing of the asbestos down at EcoFill, because I believe in the original agreement with EcoFill there was a discounted rate, and I'm not sure whether we did anything about finding out whether there was a discounted rate for. I know there's a discounted rate for general garbage, but I'm not sure about whether there's a discounted rate for asbestos. And I was just wondering whether anything was done about that.
Councillor, there's certainly a discounted rate for general fill. The remainder, I would prefer to talk to Council in closed session later regarding that, please.
Mr Mayor, no, you go.
Councillor Stadmiller.
I won't fire up too much, just to say that the report details that we have a contingency of $300,000 based on this. Well, I regard that as already having been blown by the asbestos removal. Could we actually discuss with the contractor before he starts making or she starts making changes to whatever plan and charging extras before they occur? And I don't agree with just putting a budget increase of $300,000 down. There's already an enormous amount of money being wasted on asbestos removal and will continue to be spent on this project. And we need to be very careful where this will end up. It could end up costing double.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Rolls.
Yes, Mr Mayor, can I just ask, that $300,000, is that the final cost, or will there be more costs coming afterwards? Budgeting contingency. There you go. I'm learning the correct vocabulary.
Did that answer your question, Councillor?
Not really.
No. Okay. That's okay. Council has, at its extraordinary meeting in September, voted to complete the entire stage 2 of the pool, which included included the splash pad and the splash pool. We estimated that cost to be about $1.5 million, and that has come on at that price. At that same time, we alluded to the fact that there was an additional fine of asbestos when we were doing the sewer connection from the building down to the back. That had held up the works, and we had not removed that. I took the council resolution, which was complete the works, to include removal of that asbestos material, with a commitment to council that I would come back with a future report committee advising of all costs and where we're up to. The report you have in front of you indicates that we still have that the pool costs that we estimated at 1.5 was about right. However, the $300,000 is to pay for that additional asbestos fine that we found 2 days before the council meeting, and also to leave us $100,000 of contingencies, because I really don't like coming back to council and asking for each cent each time something goes wrong on this job.
This should be the final.
This should be the final cost.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions in regard to that matter? If not,
Just
Councillor
one,
Armstrong.
in regard to the aerial photograph on page 334 indicating the boreholes, can we get a copy of that with the location of the new structure superimposed over it, please? Just so as we can compare the old ones, the new one, and where the boreholes are.
I will organise that for all the councillors, yes.
Thank you for that. Okay, we'll have to move in a second. I'll put that. All those in favour? Again? This, councillors, just to clarify, and so we don't have any misvoting and Malady being checked out. All those in favour? Against? Councillor Stadmiller and Councillor Flannery. Councillor O'Connor. Sure. Just have to get it right.
Stadmiller and Flannery.
Councillor Stadmiller and Councillor Flannery against. Yep. Thank you. Item 19399, Drought Communities Extension Program. Councillors, there's a report there and a recommendation is there.
Move the recommendation.
Move Councillor Horton. Do I get a seconder? Seconder Councillor O'Connor.
Mr. Mayor, I have a
Questions, comments? We'll start with Councillor Walker then.
Just asking, will that list of proposed projects come to a council meeting?
It's up to us to make them.
That's what I was going to ask, what will be submitted. Are we doing a
Yeah.
workshop in regards to what's going to be submitted, or proposals put forward to us?
I was going to ask that too. I've actually visited this before and have already a list of suggestions, and I really think it's important that we, as a council, take on our responsibility and workshop it and put that list of priorities in place for the whole community.
I'll let the director answer that, but my answer would be that it will be coming through a council decision, I'd imagine. I'd be disappointed if it's not. I'll hand over to the director.
Councillors, absolutely it is my intention. I emailed over the weekend a copy of my proposals for the Fixing Country Roads portion of this grant, which is additional to this $1 million, because that closes on the 1st of December. And I'm trying to get that in. In terms of the remainder, I've made some suggestions as well, and it is my intent to bring all of those back to a councillor workshop as soon as possible.
Thank you for that. So a mover and a seconder. Any other questions or queries? If not, I'll put that. All those in favour? Again, the one thing I would note, Council, is there that it tells you what you can and can't do on that little report there, and it takes a lot of things out of play straight away.
Yeah.
It does.
And also, Mr. Mayor, I was just thinking there are a couple of projects that actually need more funding in regards to caravan parks and footpaths, which we've taken away from previous.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's right. Yep. There's areas to be looked at, there is. Okay, we're up to item 19400, HILLTOPS work report. There's a report there, Council, and the recommendation.
I'll move it with questions.
Moved Councillor Flannery with a question, seconded by Councillor Armstrong. Thank you. Councillor Flannery.
Mr. Mayor, there's a number of issues. The weeds control, which we still don't have a weeds committee that's been established, but I do understand that might be achieved within 12 months of the original resolution, so there is hope. But noting on the eastern and southern, it says spot spraying noxious weeds, suckers, roadside, shoulder. Could we have some detail of that, because I haven't seen any of this. Of the like. Southern, it says shoulder and spot spraying on various roads. Again, I haven't seen one single vehicle out spraying, and I do a fair bit of travelling at this time of year. But I have seen a lot of noxious weeds around, particularly, well, they're not called noxious weeds, so technically I'm incorrect. Certainly St John's wort is flowering prolifically, none of it's being sprayed, numerous other weeds. Could we have more detailed reports, or just admit it? I'd rather be told the truth again, which is nothing's happening. We moved a motion in relation to the street work at Harden, Neil Street, and part of that was for trees to be pruned back, and I noticed that they were promptly removed. I don't remember any of the trees being removed as part of the report when we dealt with those last items, and I think 3 or 4 trees were removed along the central median strip. So could we have a report on that, including the plans for replanting next winter? I'm sick to death of the situation in Harden, please. It notes here that for Southern, for construction projects, North Street linking concrete cycleway construction work ongoing. I'd like to inform Council that certainly will be ongoing, because the stormwater drain has been put in above the grade of the road, so none of the water will be going down that drain. It'll be going straight across the road into the residents opposite. And I'm reliably informed it'll have to be pulled out and redone. We have a report on the cost of that and what funds are going to meet that, please. I'm also disappointed to inform Council that last week the council backhoe took out a good section of the wall at Galong Cemetery at the entrance gates. including the 2 gates, an historic wall. The monastery were not informed of it. They weren't aware of it until my mother, who's on the Galong Cemetery Committee, informed the Redemptorists of it, and in turn informed council. Her phone number was requested, which goes to our customer service policy. Twice she rang, no return calls. Thursday last week, she again rang on Friday, and they said, she asked what was happening, and it said it's been referred to the Works Department in Harden. She said, well, why haven't I had a return phone call? And they said it's not usual for us to return to advise of what the situation is. We have simply referred to the Works Committee, the Works Group. Fortunately, Kevin Hill, who I can't commend highly enough, did get back to my mother, and temporary fencing was put up to stop sheep that were grazing in the paddock getting into that cemetery. So
why was it removed, the wall?
Because the backhoe operator swung around and knocked the wall over. But for some reason, the Redemptorist fathers were not told. No one was told. It is symptomatic of what's going on here. I can't tell you how livid I was when I heard about it. Can we have a report on that too, please?
Point taken, Councillor Flannery. The relevant staff noted that and can address. It is. Very disappointing. All right, besides that, anyone else got any comments in regard to the works reports? If not, I'll move. Councillor Stadmiller.
Mr Mayor, I remember when the former General Manager Anthony McMahon was here, I believe he placed an issue in Swift Street across the road from the entrance to Murrumburra Harden Hospital on the works report or the action summary report. That time's definitely passed, and there's still been nothing done there to fix a number of Currajong trees that have raised the gutter and are causing that property to be flooded. I think Council's liable if we do get some rain and that property is flooded. So can that please be looked at, or can we have a report as to when someone will look at doing some work there in the future? It's been going on for years.
Thank you, Councillor Stadmiller.
Swift Street.
You got that noted? Yep, okay. All those in favour? I'll put that motion. Recommendation. All those in favour? Against? Against is Councillor Flannery from accepting that. No, so that's okay. We'll go there. Item 401 is the action summary report. Do I have a mover? Moved, Councillor Tuckerman, thank you. Seconded, Councillor O'Connor.
I have a question, Mr. Mayor.
Question, Councillor O'Connor.
Item 1965, which is the Weed Control Functions Advisory Group, which has been formed. Has the business unit been formed yet? Like I've had a lot of questions and I haven't been able to answer them.
Would the relevant director like to speak to that? The acting general manager, sorry. Yeah. Sorry, yeah.
The committee itself, we're looking to have that up and running in January. So that should be the first move towards that, and then we'll give.
So you're talking about the advisory committee?
Yep, that's correct.
It's actually a 355.
Oh, sorry, 355. Yeah, sorry, yeah.
Okay, but the actual business unit hasn't been formed.
There is a team that are actually doing the works, but they're not called a business unit per se. But once we have that 355 committee up running, we'll have another discussion about how we scope that out from there.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Question, Councillor Tuckerman.
First item, 23rd of November 2016. In the status, it talks about delayed due to Crown lands transfer obligation. Can someone please explain to me what that means, and due to recent decisions, what does it mean?
Goes back to...
There's two parts to that, Councillor, that certainly there was a number of those areas that we needed or that were required for road widening and to make the roads actually line up with where the road reserve was. That's the reason for those. A number of those were on Crown land, and they would have been tied up with a Crown land negotiation. That is an administrative problem that we haven't updated that particular comment there, and that'll be fixed for next meeting.
Thank you for that. So,
Mr Mayor, just on the issue of customer service policy, which we're still waiting for that to be, I think it's due to come back to the December report, and consistent with with the intention of a more desirable outcome, the residents along North Street where the curb and guttering is working, I'm also informed, haven't been told of when the works are occurring or any inconvenience or otherwise that they might be experienced. Could we please ensure that once we know what's going on that they be advised of the program works, please?
thank you for that. It's been noted. Okay.
Mr Mayor, one other
Councillor
question, if I
Tuckerman.
may. 24th of October 2018, it's 18316 Burley Griffin Way intersection upgrade. Now, it talks about meeting with the new owners of the quarry, and they have confirmed that they will be privately negotiating all parcels of land. Well, I thought that the owners weren't willing to negotiate. That's why we made a decision to acquire the land.
We've since met with the new owners, Greymont, and they made a presentation to council and said it was their wish to start off their process of owning this facility on the right foot, and they didn't want to have things being compulsory acquired. They would rather, if they had the opportunity, to meet themselves with the owners that previously hadn't wanted to sell or deal, and see if they could come to an agreement. Councillor Manchester was there at that workshop and suggested that the gentleman who is in charge of that property and the owners were coming over and they could arrange to meet. I think Councillor Manchester might be able to update even more.
Yeah, through you, Mayor. Originally that was what was going to happen. It was going to go through compulsory acquisition, and then the manager of the property did indicate that the owners were coming over from China or Korea, China, and that they were more willing now to negotiate rather than go through compulsory, and that is about where it's at the moment. Then now it's changed hands, and the current owners, Greymont, would like to still go through negotiations rather than compulsory if they can do it. So we're just waiting for that proposed meeting between Greymont and I think our Director of Infrastructure will be involved when they do come out. And I initially thought they were coming out in August, but with the change of ownership, that would have been held up, I would think.
Thank you for that. Councillor Stadler.
Question, Mr Mayor. Do we not already have a resolution on the table stating that it's to be acquired? So how can this happen?
I'll pass over to Director. That question was asked and answered, I believe, at some stage.
Sorry, Councillor, that I'm just trying to remember. I don't have the actual resolution sitting in front of me. Can you point me to the page number, please, Councillor?
So it's 352 18316.
Thank you.
Mr Mayor, I think I can answer that question.
Councillor Armstrong.
Under the provisions of the legislation, you must have to be able to demonstrate that you have successfully negotiated to the point where you can't negotiate any further in terms of proceeding with just terms compensation and the acquisition of it. And I think that what the Director was about to say, on a little bit of mind reading, was that those negotiations are now opened again, and it is impossible to proceed consistent with the provisions of the legislation while ever those negotiations are able to be carried out.
I knew I had this question answered to me when I asked it before. Yep. Okay. Yep. Councillor Stadler. Okay, Councillor.
Has Council been advised in writing of those negotiations being reopened?
That's probably a very good question. I've received, well, at the workshop it was stated, and also at the meeting with the management at GALONG the other day, it was again repeated. But I haven't actually seen anything in writing now, but we can chase that up and speak with Greymont people, please, and make sure that...
Councillors, I'll ask for that to be confirmed for us.
Okay. Councillor Stadmiller.
Can I wholeheartedly thank Councillor Armstrong for his answer, an answer I would have appreciated from the director. But anyway, that is a terrible crossroads there, and it needs to be upgraded as soon as possible. I don't care whether it's acquired or not. Personally, it just needs to be done, and this has been going on before my time, 2012 at council. It just needs to be done before there's a fatality there. I don't care how it's done.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Flannery.
Mr Mayor, I couldn't find them, so I may be remiss in asking this, but we did at previous council meeting, and I'm thinking it was the September meeting, request the details of when we moved a motion for a contract relating to the racecourse. I asked for details of the sewerage connection, and I was asked, and we were advised it would come back to council, but we nonetheless voted on the motion, subject to if a change was required, we would be advised of that. At the October meeting, the council were given verbal advice, just as we have here in relation to Galong Road, that the connection was adequate. I would like to see these things in writing because it comes back to conjecture. Could we please, pursuant to the September meeting, have a report on the connections, sewerage and water connections for, or sewerage in particular, for the racecourse? And I also think we must get in writing that negotiations have reopened with Greymont. Otherwise, we can only assume it hasn't occurred.
Okay.
Please.
Thank you, Councillor Flannery. Yep, both pertinent the points. And I'm just forgot that noted. So, with those taken into account, councillors, I'd move in a second for that item. I'll put it. All those in favour? Again, it's unanimous. Thank you. Oh, weird. Out of 12 says correspondence for attention. Action nil. Information recommendation that we note the media releases and dates of release. The local government circulars. So that's pretty straightforward. Someone like to move and second that? Please. Moved Councillor Stadmiller. Seconded Councillor Manchester. All those in favour? Again? Takes us to 355 committee reports requiring action. Would we like to deal with the late report? Is this the section, Councillor Tuckman, that you wish to talk, please? Yep.
So, I don't know if everyone's seen it. Maybe I should read the actual recommendation. Would that be, has everyone seen what the recommendations are? Yes.
Yep.
If I don't need to read it, I won't.
You haven't got it?
No.
I can hand it to you.
Yep.
Does anyone want me to read it?
I think she read.
Rightio, okay. So that recommendation is that Council endorse the minutes of the BOOROWA Community Garden Section 355 Committee for the dates of 16th of October 2019 and the 12th of November 2019. Acknowledge the resignation of Ros Gibson as President and Treasurer. Endorse the nomination of Steve Moss as President and Maria Stanton as Treasurer, and that bank accounts and signatures to administered records be updated accordingly. Ensure that appropriate delegation instruments are in place to support the use of the BOOROWA Community Garden cheque account. Confirm the contractual arrangement with MHPN around the Community Garden grant with a new committee, and provide advice to the group on the best organisational structure to implement a council-supported wellbeing program.
Thank you for that, Councillor Tuckerman.
I move the recommendation.
Moved by Councillor Tuckerman. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor O'Connor. Any questions or comments in regard to that?
Just a couple of questions, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Armstrong.
I note that in the charter for this particular committee, there is no mention of the committee's ability to enter into contracts or to make agreements with the state. Nor is there any delegation here to create a bank account. Yet council's now being asked to agree to both those things after it appears it's been done. That to me goes to the issue of governance, and I'd have to ask the two councillors who are representatives of council on that committee, were they present when these things were occurring? Given that they would have been aware of the restrictions on the functions delegated.
They were in place when I first started on that committee. they already had the bank account going, and they had previous money from Bendigo Bank, I think it was. Yeah. So they were actually already in place before, well, you know, when we started.
I guess there's no delegation for them to have that bank account as a 355 committee. That was never reported back to council. Other thing, of course, is the plan of management. The functions delegated by councillors develop and implement a plan of management for the Boorowa Community Garden. Can I please be provided with a copy of that document and the date which was received by council and the date that council adopted the plan of management? Because it appears from the minutes that the community garden aspect of it is secondary. I can't support. I can't support this. It appears as though the community garden part of it is secondary. Well, in respect that there is.
One at a time, please. Sorry.
And is the plan of management available?
It's been endorsed by council.
It includes operation of a bank account.
No.
It includes signing up for grants and/or enter into agreements with the state. Does the plan of management include those actions?
I cannot tell you what the plan of management actually.
Then, councillors, I can't see how we can consider this report until we understand what's in the plan of management.
The plan of management that I've seen is the actual creation of the garden. So it was the where the location was, what was going where, how they were going to water it. That was all the plan of management that I saw.
Is it a 355 committee?
It is. It probably doesn't need to be.
Yes, it is. So, in regards to the check account, why can't they operate a check account under the section 355?
They haven't been delegated the function.
Are you sure?
Well, it's the schedule that was supplied in the minutes adopted by council says item 3 develop. The delegation, name of the function group is not applicable. Name of the committee is Boorowa Community Garden Committee. Functions delegated by council to the committee. Develop and implement a plan of management for the Boorowa Community Garden. Restrictions on functions delegated. Any works undertaken will be with the knowledge of council's general manager. All works undertaken need to be in accordance with the constitution, the site plan and the management plan. So entering into agreements with the state and operating the bank account don't appear to be in there, and if they're in the plan, then I'd just like to see a copy of the plan where council's adopted that.
But operating a bank account would be in the constitution.
I'm happy to receive a copy of that constitution along with the plan, councillor. But there's certainly no delegation adopted by council specifically.
Okay, councillors, there seems to be some questions in regard to that late report.
Mr Mayor, perhaps the report could come at next month's council meeting and so council could consider it.
So you're suggesting perhaps we defer this to next month's council meeting? Is that what I'm hearing?
Through you, Mr Chair, the administration's support of Section 355 committees is one of the responsibilities in my area, and when I received this email very late before the council meeting, my correspondence with my fellow directors was that there was inadequate time to inquire into the proper status of this prior to the council meeting, so my determination was that I would bring a report to the December council meeting. If there are any urgent administrative matters that require resolution by the committee prior to that, I would encourage the committee to contact me directly, and I will endeavour to assist wherever possible. In the meantime, I had determined that I would be best, I thought, to bring a report to the December meeting so that I had adequate time to prepare a report, but I'm happy to take whatever direction from council.
Thank you. Through the Mayor, thank you for that. I appreciate it. Probably could have come when we actually moved the late report, but I'm only going on what was delivered from the previous General Manager.
Yep, thank you for that. Look, do I have a motion to put on the board in regard to this, Councillor Armstrong, then? Or any councillor in regard
Simply
to...
that the report be deferred until next meeting, be deferred until the council's December meeting.
I think seconded Councillor Stadmiller. We've had a bit of discussion around it, and the officer in charge has indicated his assistance is there if anything's needed to be done before that, so that's not a bad result. So, all those in favour? Again, unanimous. Councillor Tuckerman, you were for that? Councillor Tuckerman, just the last motion. Were you for? I counted you for. Yes, thank you. Yep. 19402, MURRINGO Progress Association 355 Committee Membership Report. The report's there at councillors and the recommendations there.
I move the recommendation.
Moved by Councillor Rolls. Seconded by Councillor Walker. Any questions or comments? If not, I'll put that. All those in favour? All those in favour?
Aye.
Thank you, that's unanimous. Councillor Armstrong, your microphone's on, thank you.
Oh, sorry.
I seem to have lost an item somewhere in my paper. 403. GALONG Progress Association, there we are. 355 committee membership. Similar thing. That's moved by Councillor Horton, seconded by Councillor Stadmiller. No questions or comments. I put that. All those in favour? So be it. That's unanimous. Thank you. Now I've got 19404 committee reports requiring no action. Receive and note the minutes. I've got a mover and a seconder for those. Moved Councillor Rolls, seconded Councillor Horton. All those in favour? So be it. Thank you. It's unanimous. Here we go. Not too quick. All right.
Ask a question.
Question,
Sorry.
Councillor O'Connor.
Mr. Mayor, it's about the Progress Association committees. Is there a staff member that all these minutes go to, who then put them into the reports? Because I've had a request from the Wombat Progress Association meeting saying that they've been submitting their minutes, but they never seem to get in here.
And another ongoing problem we've seemed to have had. Which director would like to talk to that?
The staff member responsible is currently on leave. However, that area falls under my area of responsibility, so I'll be looking into that and try to lift the standard of reporting in that area.
Thank you. So we go, the next one along is item 19405, the questions on notice that were provided to Council, and the replies were emailed out to all of us in regard to where those situations are.
Mr Mayor, I regard it as inappropriate for responses that are on notice in the public domain to be replied to via emails directly to Council.
Councillor Flannery, I found it quite strange myself, but just in case we don't have any conflict of interest again, I'm not going to make any further comment on it. I will be asking that those emails are printed off and they are made in the public domain. But I asked the question, I'm happy to move that item if I've got a seconder. Without any further chat about it. Seconded Councillor Flannery, moved by me.
This one.
Questions on notice? Yeah, I can be bothered trying to go through. Yep. Thank you. Could be seen as... Thank you for that. So it brings us to notice of motions, rescission motions, which there are 0. So we now move to the point of dealing with confidential matters. So could I have someone please move that we move into confidential? Councillor Flannery, seconded Councillor O'Connor. All those in favour? So be it. It's unanimous. Thank you very much, councillors and staff.